boost your English.
From English Podcast with John.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Podcast with John. We're so happy to be here with you. Today, we're exploring how to stay motivated on your English journey and keep moving forward with confidence. We'll guide you step by step with real-life examples, making your English practice enjoyable, relaxed, and fun. I am so excited for this topic today. I think it's something that literally everyone struggles with at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. It's such a universal feeling, isn't it? How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great. Just really ready to get into this because motivation is, well, it's the engine for everything.
It really is. And before we jump in, I just want to say a huge thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. If you find this chat helpful, please don't forget to subscribe and maybe share it with a friend who's also on their learning journey. Your support means the world.
It really does. Thank you. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning of any big goal, especially something as huge as learning English. What does motivation even mean in this context? When you first decide, okay, I'm going to do this, what are those initial feelings like for you?
That's a great place to start. For me, and I think for a lot of people, that first wave is almost like euphoria. I remember when I first committed to learning a new language, I felt unstoppable. I downloaded like 5 different apps. I bought a bunch of books. I told all my friends.
I've been there, the big declaration.
Exactly. You're riding this huge wave of excitement. But then, then reality sets in. For me, that high lasted maybe a week. Then I hit this just massive slump. I realized the sheer volume of what I didn't know was paralyzing, and that initial powerful feeling just evaporated. It was actually pretty discouraging.
That is so relatable. It's like you're standing at the bottom of a mountain, you're excited for the climb, and then you look up and you can't even see the top. Do you think comparison is the biggest thief of joy when learning? Because I feel like that's when the slump hits hardest, when you go online and see people who seem to be miles ahead.
Oh, 100%. Comparison is just, it's brutal. It's the absolute worst thing you can do, especially in the beginning. You see someone on social media speaking fluently, and you're there struggling to remember like 10 new words. Yeah. And you forget that you're only seeing their final product, not the thousands of hours of messy, frustrating practice they put in. My advice is always to put on blinders. Just focus on your own path. Your only competition should be who you were yesterday. Trying to keep up with someone else's highlight reel is a game you'll never win.
That's such good advice. So when you hit that wall, that slump you mentioned, and you feel totally stuck, what's the first small mental trick you use to push past it? What gets you to just open the book on a day when you really don't want to?
The trick for me is to make the goal so small. It's like almost ridiculous. I don't say, I have to study for an hour. I tell myself, you just have to open the app or just read one paragraph. I use what some people call the 5-minute rule.
I love that.
Yeah, you just commit to 5 minutes. That's it. Because the hardest part is always starting. Once you've actually started, that inertia often carries you, and 5 minutes turns into 10, then maybe 20. But even if it's only 5 minutes, you still kept the habit alive. You showed up. And that's a small win right there. And that idea really leads into the whole strategy of goal setting. We tend to set these huge, overwhelming goals like, I want to be fluent in a year. And that's great for a vision, but it's terrible for daily motivation.
It's way too big. It doesn't give you anything to hold on to day to day.
Exactly. It's all about setting enjoyable micro goals. Small, consistent wins are what build momentum. I had this one habit that really worked for me. I love listening to music, so my micro goal was just to learn the chorus of one English song per week. That's it. It didn't feel like studying at all. It was fun. But over a year, I had learned the lyrics to over 50 songs, and my vocabulary and sense for sentence structure it grew without me even realizing it.
I love that example because it connects directly to something you already enjoy. That's a huge theme for me, too. I found that linking English practice to one of my existing hobbies made it feel completely effortless.
What was the hobby?
I'm a huge movie buff. So instead of, forcing myself to read a grammar textbook, I decided my study time would be watching one movie a week in English, but with English subtitles on. I wasn't trying to understand every single word. I was just immersing myself in the story. And my brain just started picking up natural phrases, slang, intonation, things you can't really learn from a book. It felt like a treat, not a chore.
That's the secret right there. When the learning is a byproduct of doing something you love, you'll never have to force yourself to do it. But Let me ask you this. How do you handle the pressure when you must study a difficult topic, even if it's not fun? Like sometimes you just have to buckle down and learn complex grammar rules.
Ugh, that's the hard part, isn't it? For those moments, my strategy is all about self-compassion and a little bit of trickery. I time box it. I'll set a timer for just 25 minutes and tell myself, okay, for these 25 minutes, we're going to tackle this boring thing. But, and this is the important part, I promise myself a really good reward immediately after.
Like what?
Like watching an episode of my favorite show, or playing a video game, or anything that feels like a genuine treat. It kind of conditions your brain to think, okay, we get through this little bit of pain, and then we get a big reward. It makes the difficult stuff feel much more manageable, and you don't end the day feeling totally drained by it.
That's a great practical tip. It acknowledges that not every part of the process is going to be fun. So what about the goals themselves? Is it okay to change your goal completely if your initial one just loses its appeal? Say you started learning because you wanted to travel, but now you're more interested in reading scientific papers in English.
Oh, not only is it okay, I think it's essential. Your goals have to be allowed to grow and change with you. Clinging to an old goal that doesn't excite you anymore is, it's the fastest way to burn out.
That makes so much sense.
Right. Your motivation is tied to what you find relevant and interesting now. The person you were 6 months ago didn't know what you know today. So if your passion shifts from travel blogs to scientific research, you have to follow that curiosity. That's what will keep the fire lit for the long haul. And speaking of following your curiosity, that leads us perfectly into the idea of immersion, which I think is a word people often misunderstand.
I agree. People hear immersion and they immediately think they have to move to another country, which just isn't realistic for most of us.
Exactly. But you can create your own immersion environment right where you are. For me, the big breakthrough came when I started immersing myself in content, podcasts, audiobooks, things like that. I stopped trying to translate everything in my head and just focused on listening for the general idea, the tone, the emotion.
You lowered what they call the affective filter, the stress of understanding everything.
Yes, precisely. And I remember this one moment so clearly. I was listening to a podcast about history, which is pretty complex, and suddenly I realized I'd been listening for 10 minutes and I understood the whole argument. Not every single word, but the story. The feeling was. It was incredible. It was a huge rush of confidence that made me want to listen to even more.
That moment where it just clicks is the best feeling in the world. It proves to you that all the hard work is paying off. So that's immersion on your own. But what about the value of having a study partner or joining an online community? How much does that social element help?
Oh, it's a total game changer. For me, it provides two things you can't get on your own. Accountability and a safe space to fail.
Yeah.
I had a learning partner for a while, and we were at about the same level.
That probably helped a lot.
It was crucial. We would just chat once a week on video call, only in English, about our day or a movie we watched. There was no pressure to be perfect because we were both making mistakes. We'd laugh about them. It removed all the fear and intimidation of speaking. And just knowing that she was expecting my call, that was enough to make me practice a little more during the week. It turned learning from a lonely task into a fun social activity.
That shared vulnerability is so powerful. It makes the process feel less like a performance and more like a collaboration. But what about someone who is learning completely alone? If someone is an introvert or maybe their schedule is just too crazy for a partner, how can they create their own sense of community or accountability?
That's a really important question. I think you can use technology for this. You don't need a live partner. Find an online forum or a social media group that's dedicated to one of your hobbies, but an English-speaking one.
So not a language learning group, but a hobby group.
Exactly. A group about gardening or video games or baking. And your goal is just to make one comment or ask one question per week. It's low stakes, asynchronous communication. You're using the language for a real purpose, to connect with people over a shared interest. That creates that sense of community, and the replies you get are a form of accountability. It works.
That's a brilliant way to get real-world practice without the pressure of a live conversation. And thinking about those replies, what role does immediate feedback play in maintaining that motivation? When someone likes your comment or answers your question, how much does that little bit of positive reinforcement matter?
I think it matters more than we realize. From a neurological standpoint, positive reinforcement releases dopamine in your brain. It's a reward. When you try to use a new phrase and someone understands you and responds positively, your brain basically says, hey, that worked. Let's do that again.
It closes the learning loop.
It closes the loop perfectly. It validates the effort. It makes you want to take another risk, to try another complex sentence, and it helps you reframe mistakes. A mistake isn't a failure anymore. It's just a piece of data that you can use to get that positive feedback next time. It turns the whole process into a positive upward spiral.
I love that. A positive upward spiral. But we have to talk about the opposite of that. No matter how good your system is, setbacks and burnout are.
Well, they're inevitable. Life gets in the way. You get sick, work gets crazy. How can learners give themselves grace and take breaks without feeling like they're failing or quitting altogether?
This is maybe the most important point of all. You have to understand that a break is not the same as quitting. A break is a strategic part of the process. I actually went through a pretty major burnout phase a few years ago. I was studying so hard, pushing myself every day, and I hit a wall. I was exhausted.
What did you do? I decided to take a complete break, no formal study for a whole month. And at first, the guilt was it was eating me alive. I felt like I was losing everything I had worked for. But I forced myself to rest, and something amazing happened. When I came back to it a month later, things that had felt so difficult before suddenly made sense. It was like my brain had used that downtime to organize and file away all the information. The break actually made me better.
So the rest was actually productive.
Incredibly productive. It's like sleeping. Your brain consolidates memories while you sleep. A learning break does the same thing on a bigger scale. Sometimes stepping away is the most effective way to move forward.
That's such a powerful story. It gives everyone permission to rest, which is so needed. But after a long break like that, getting back into the routine can feel, well, it can feel really intimidating. You worry you've forgotten everything. What's a simple, easy routine for getting back into the habit after you've been away for a while?
You have to start smaller than you think. The goal on day one is not to learn new things, it's just to rebuild your confidence. My go-to method is what I'd call zero-pressure review. You pick something incredibly easy that you know you've already mastered.
Like what, for example?
It could be listening to a song where you already know all the words, or reviewing a set of 10 super basic flashcards, or watching a short clip from a movie you've seen a dozen times. The point is to give your brain an immediate and guaranteed win. It reminds you, oh, right, I can do this, I haven't forgotten everything. That tiny spark of success is usually all you need to get the engine running again.
That's fantastic advice. You're protecting your own self-confidence.
Exactly. And that really brings everything we've talked about together, doesn't it? The key to staying motivated for the long run isn't about being perfect or being the fastest. It's about enjoying the process. It's about building a system that's kind to yourself, that's flexible, and that's built around things you genuinely find fun. When you enjoy the journey itself, progress just sort of happens. It becomes a natural part of your life.
That was such a great conversation. I feel like we covered so much. Before we officially wrap up, I just want to offer one last quick thought on the mindset around making mistakes.
Please do. I think that's such a critical point.
Okay, so next time you make an error when you're speaking or writing, try not to see it as a failure. Don't think, oh, I'm bad at this. Instead, think of it as collecting data. That mistake is a free piece of information that is telling you exactly what you need to focus on next. It's not a judgment on your ability. It's just a signpost on your path.
I love that. Shifting from an emotional reaction to an analytical one. And to add to that, just remember that tomorrow is always a new day to practice. Resilience is key. Just keep showing up. Perfect. Well, that brings us to the end of our talk on finding and keeping your motivation for learning English.
We really hope that hearing some of these ideas and stories helps you on your own journey.
And we would absolutely love to hear from you. What's the one thing that keeps you motivated? Do you have a special trick or a micro goal that works for you? Please leave a comment and tell us your story. Your experiences can really help other people in the community.
Yeah, sharing your journey is so valuable. Thank you again so much for joining us today and for listening.
Remember to make English a small part of your life every single day. That consistency is what builds momentum. So keep up with your daily listening and speaking practice.
And we'll be back soon with more conversations to help you on your way to fluency.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think might find it helpful.
Until next time, everyone, keep at it.
Goodbye, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Bye for now.